This episode of PWS United is sponsored by Soleno Therapeutics.
Welcome to PWS United, a podcast for the Prader-Willi syndrome community, brought to you by PWSA USA. This podcast gives the latest news in research, advocacy, and family support by bringing together staff, volunteers, PWS treatment specialists, biotech and pharmaceutical representatives, caregivers, family members, and individuals with PWS. Our goal is to share education, awareness, and resources with those living with PWS and their supporters. Join us in our mission to enhance the quality of life and empower those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of PWS United. This is one of our Pulse episodes. We're going to be going over Volume 139 from January 16th, 2026, which is, again, so crazy that it's 2026. But we also want to make sure you all know that at the end of this, we have our first Voices on VYKAT testimonial. And I know, Carrie, we're very excited to put this out, and this will be our series of just giving the family perspective of being on VYKAT and what it's like.
Yeah. And this first interview was fantastic. It was a dad in the community. And please just stick around. It's really great. He did an awesome job kind of explaining it, like you said, from that parent perspective.
Yeah. Yep. So we're excited for that. But before we get to that, we want to talk about our Rare Aware Art Share. We are now accepting submissions for 2026, and the submission period is January 15th through March 15th. And for those of you who are new to the Rare Aware Art Share, this is something we did back in 2024, and we are so excited to bring it back. This is an art show, and it's art made by individuals with PWS. And it goes on our social media, and we're going to have some printed art to look at the DC Fly-In and maybe at some other events this year. But it's just a great way for our loved ones with PWS to express themselves creatively, to share with the community. And there's questions with the submissions, so we can learn a little bit more about them and kind of their lived experience with PWS. So we just really have enjoyed this initiative. Very excited to bring it back. The theme for the 2026 Rare Aware Art Share is advocacy and awareness. And so the prompt is, how do you advocate for yourself? And how do you bring awareness to your community about PWS? We invite individuals living with PWS to show what advocacy and awareness looks like in their lives, big or small, public or personal. We recognize that not everyone makes a trip to Washington, D.C. or their state capital to advocate for policy. When they do, we love to hear about it. It's very exciting. We'd love to see artwork about that. But sometimes advocating looks like demanding better food security at a group home, or reminding a teacher that supervision is required during meals. There's all kinds of it. Awareness may be speaking about PWS at a big event, or just sharing your story with a classmate or a community member. There is no right way to advocate or raise awareness. Every voice matters and every action counts. And we would love to see the art that comes from your loved one being a part of that. So please look to the show notes. You'll find a link to learn more about the art share and a link to submit artwork. And just something to note, it is a virtual art show. So the art, whatever art they create, we need you to take a picture of it and then submit the photo. And that's how we will share it, is by a photo. So we look forward to seeing all the artwork that your loved ones create. And moving on to our first spotlight on PWS. If you're new or if you missed it, we are rebranding the Spotlight on Hope to Spotlight on PWS. So this is to get a more of a whole look at PWS. We want people to feel inspired and feel safe to share whatever story they want to share. It doesn't always have to be this big grand success. So whatever, challenges or successes, however big, however small, we want to share those here. So this first one was submitted in Spanish.
So cool. I love it.
I love that it's submitted in Spanish, and I kind of want to read it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read it in Spanish, but I'm going to work on my Spanish and next time I'll be able to do it. But I need a little more practice. It's a little early in the morning for me. So, anyway, if you would like to read the Spanish, you can get to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and scroll down and you'll find it if you'd like to read the original. But here's the translation that we have. This is from Maria G. Padron in honor of her daughter Ashley, who is 9, living with PWS. And she said, I am a Hispanic mom of a 9-year-old girl. From the moment she was born, she was diagnosed with PWS. As a mother, I felt broken, not knowing anything about it. Today, I can say there is always something we can do for them. She is my light and the sweetest girl in the world. Seek help if you are in the situation. So, thank you so much for submitting that. If you would like to share a spotlight, you'll find a link to do that in the show notes. And we've reformatted a little bit the Pulse, and we've moved the PWS resource spotlight up to the top because we want to make sure that you all are seeing these resource spotlights that we're sharing. These are things that are on our website or on our YouTube channel, or the resources that we put out that we realize that we have so many resources, which is awesome. But things might get lost. You might not realize it's there. So we're doing these spotlights to draw attention to various resources. And this week's resource spotlight is on our PWS fact sheets. And these are quick guides to basic facts and concerns common in various life stages, like infant, toddler, school age and young adult, and adults. And each fact sheet offers a brief overview of PWS, common features, health concerns, and specific ways you can support your loved one during this stage of life. And you can find a link to download those fact sheets in our show notes.
I will say these live a couple places on our website. I would say they're most often found on our What is PWS webpage, but we also have them on our resource index page. And both of those can be found in our menu, just our main menu of the website. So if you're looking for them in the future as well, those 2 pages are where they're at.
All
Back
right.
to you, Annie.
So January is Mental Wellness Month, and we asked our lovely Adults with PWS Advisory Board to share some tips on mental wellness. And they've been coming out on our social media, so check there if you want to read them. Also, we're asking people to comment with their own. If you have tips, if your loved one with PWS has tips on mental wellness. And of course, mental wellness is for all of us. So if you want to speak specifically to caregivers, that's fine too. But we thought it would be fun to focus and invite our advisory board to share there. So the one in the Pulse is from Abbott Filson, and he said, I support my mental health by interacting with friends and family, being in my community, and doing the things I enjoy doing in life. What keeps me grounded and calm are bear hugs, talking things out with staff, going on cool down walks, and having staff really listen. So
Ooh, I can relate to that cool down walk
I
moment.
was just thinking
Yes.
that too.
That is how I, like, re-regulate in all aspects of life, honestly. Just, "I'm gonna go for a walk."
Yeah, I love it.
A good one, Abbott. Mhm. Alright, now on to some events and fundraisers going on. We are so excited to share that registration is now open for the 12th annual Clint Hurdle Hot Stove Dinner. So excited for that one. It is one of the best events I think that happens every year because it's in sunny Florida in March.
Yeah.
A lot of people need warmth and sunshine. So thank you, Clint and Carla, for always hosting it right out of winter. People need that. But this year's is going to take place on Saturday, March 21st, on the beautiful grounds of the Bradenton Country Club in Bradenton, Florida. Or you can also participate virtually from anywhere. So you can kind of get the sun and sand, but
Yeah.
in your home, in the comfort of your home on your couch. Either way. But either way you get involved, you're helping make a meaningful difference for those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome. This special event brings together the PWS community, friends, and supporters to raise critical funds for PWSA USA through inspiring stories, a silent auction featuring exclusive items and experiences, a delicious gourmet dinner, some amazing live entertainment, a raffle, and the ever popular coconut drop or the coconut golf ball drop, which I know last year we talked about the chicken,
Chicken poop
the
bingo.
chicken poop bingo. Oh,
Which
funny.
I
I,
still think there's some similarity, but just
yes.
one's for classy people and one's for My kind
It's
of
one of my
people.
favorite podcast memories, Annie. I will never forget that. Oh,
Oh,
so good. So good. But it's very fun. It's very fun at the hot stove dinner to see where your golf ball lands. So take part in all aspects that you can.
and
Again,
just to
oh, sorry.
you were talking about it being in Florida, it's also the equinox, the first day of spring, so it'll be
Yeah.
the, a good way to usher in the warmer, sunnier
Yes.
weather.
I wish it was coming sooner because I'm ready. I'm so done with negative wind chills, Annie. It's
I just
my nightmare.
I can't relate, and we are about side note, we're about to go on our retreat, our work
Mhm.
trip to Texas, and
Yeah.
it's like 20 something degrees,
Mhm.
and I don't even know I grew up in Indiana, but I haven't lived there in a long time. I live on the coast in a temperate climate. I'm scared. I'm like,
You and many other staff members,
I don't know how to deal with that.
including Angela, who lives in Texas. But some of us northern people are like, "Ooh, a 25, that's
Right?
nice." But you can also get your fill by going to the hot stove dinner in March and really get some good sunshine. It's typically pretty warm in Florida by then, like
Yes.
consistently. So, yes, again, so excited for the 12th annual event of the Clint Hurdle Hot Stove Dinner. You can go to the link in our show notes and find where to purchase tickets, find out more information about this great event. And as always, a special giant thank you to Clint and Carla Hurdle for hosting this every year in honor of their amazing daughter, Maddie. So thank you, Clint and Carla. We also encourage everyone listening to go and check out the show notes for our events webpage. We'll have a link to that and all of our upcoming PWSA events. And in addition, some webinars that are coming up. We're trying to put everything we can that is an event associated with the PWS community there to find links easier and just information and dates and details and all of that. So we will again have the link to our events page in our show notes and encourage you to go find all of those great things coming up.
So, for advocacy, we have a very exciting announcement. Whether you're a Super Bowl fan or not, because I'm not a Super Bowl fan, although I did just hear that Green Day is playing the opening ceremony.
Oh,
It's
cool.
very exciting. So we are thrilled to share that PWSA USA has partnered with Soleno Therapeutics on an exciting new awareness initiative that will be featured during this year's Super Bowl. So this is an ad in the Super Bowl printed program. So everybody that shows up is going to get this and they're going to see this really incredible ad. So there is a powerful message in this ad, and it's just really beautiful, and it gave us all like goosebumps and tears and all that when we read it. And the message is no end zone, no final whistle, just goalposts that keep moving. And so the hope is that with this, we are bringing national attention to the realities of PWS, including the relentless challenge of hyperphagia and the constant drive for food experienced by so many in our community. This collaboration reflects our shared commitment to elevating the voices of individuals and families living with PWS, increasing public understanding, and pushing forward the visibility and advocacy this community deserves. We are deeply grateful to Soleno for helping bring PWS to one of the largest stages in the world. So check the show notes for a link to a blog that Carrie put together so you can see this really beautiful, I don't know if beautiful is a word, but it's just such a cool photo. I really
Hmm.
like how they did this.
Hmm.
Um,
Same.
yeah. So go to our show notes to check that out. And we're just, again, really excited for that opportunity.
I will say too, Annie, just posting this specifically on our Facebook page has already gained so much additional awareness for PWS. I kind of figured it would just because it's such a cool national stage spotlight for PWS. But I've seen that it's gotten about 100,000 views on Facebook specifically. So not
Wow.
only is the ad going to reach all of these people at the Super Bowl itself, but it's already doing an amazing job by being spread among the online community well ahead of it. So thank you everyone for sharing that post. I think we've gotten almost 500 shares just on that
Yeah,
post, which is so cool. Proud.
that's incredible. Yeah, people are
But yeah,
excited.
it's amazing to see, yeah, all of the awareness going on around this. So thank you, Soleno. And a big shout out to Stacy for all of her hard work in this as well.
Yeah. So we'll just move on quickly to say that May 4th through the 6th is our DC fly-in for 2026, and applications are now available. And you'll find a link to that and more information about that in the show notes. We also have registration for Every Life Foundation's Rare Disease Week. And this Rare Disease Week will be on Capitol Hill, taking place February 24th through the 26th of 2026. And that is in Washington, D.C. And we encourage the PWS community to be a part of this powerful opportunity to ensure the voices of individuals and families affected by Prader-Willi syndrome are heard on Capitol Hill. This free multi-day event, hosted by the Rare Disease Legislative Advocate, a program of the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases, brings together patients, families, and advocates from across the country to raise awareness, learn about key policy proposals impacting the rare disease community, and advocate directly with members of Congress. Participants will receive advocacy training and take part in meetings with lawmakers to help advance meaningful policy change. The Rare Disease Week agenda overview is also now available, and you can find the agenda, registration, and additional event details by clicking the link in our show notes. We also would like to draw your attention to an upcoming session, Colors of Hope listening session. This is open to all in the PWS community, and this will be Tuesday, January 27th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and this will be on Zoom. And this is put on by the Colors of Hope group, and they are going to present findings from a series of listening sessions and surveys with the families of color affected by Prader-Willi syndrome. The goal of this presentation is to create a shared understanding of the challenges and opportunities ahead. So we really encourage you all to sign up for this. I would say, especially families who are white or not families of color. I think it's really important for all of us to just participate in this community and, recognize where there are gaps in care and representation, because once you know, then you know how to help. That's always my thing. So, yeah, we hope that you all take this opportunity to show up and listen. And one more thing in the advocacy section, this is for families living in New Jersey. PWSA New Jersey is updating their family registry and would like to have your most current information on file so they can provide support and community. So you'll find a link to do that in the show notes.
Some family support news to share. We have a really great blog that we're starting with here that really ties into National Mental Wellness Month. So, at first glance, social media, that's the topic here, looks to be an excellent way for persons with PWS to connect with and enjoy the company of others. There are many platforms always readily available for our loved ones to connect, share, and interact with someone in the virtual community somewhere in the world. The challenge is that most kids and adults with PWS lack the skills required to use social media responsibly and safely. PWS interferes with executive functioning skills and social functioning skills. The loss of these skills makes using social media not just challenging, but potentially dangerous. This article that we have shared was submitted by Lisa Graziano, mom to Cameron, who's living with PWS, and she explores what these skills look like, how the lack creates challenges for social media use, and tips for helping your loved one stay safe while also staying connected. So you can go and read Lisa's article at the link in our show notes. And it's just such an important topic, Annie. I think we've addressed this occasionally in the past, especially as like a conference session, but it's so important to continue to bring back up, especially as social media continues to be on the rise.
Yes.
Really, that's how people communicate these days more than any other way, I would say.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful to her for writing this, taking the time to do the research and sharing, all of her expertise here. And
Mhm.
we also have another great article coming
Yes.
out this week.
Yeah, coming out on Friday. It is well, there's multiple submissions in there, but Connor Hyback, one of our Adults with PWS advisory board members, wrote a great blog, and then others have submitted kind of smaller little snippets on how they manage social media use. I'm putting that together. That'll come out Friday, and that again, just I think it's fantastic to hear from the mouths of people with
Mhm.
PWS. So, and I'm going to Freya's getting a phone this year because she's graduating 8th grade. So
Big
that'll
day.
be, yeah, she's very excited.
Mhm.
She already knows there will be no social media and all of the parameters, it's not going to be in a room at night, all of that stuff. Because it's a thing. And I mean, as adults, we see ourselves misusing our phones a lot. And if we know better and we're still just scrolling or whatever, worrying about what some stranger commented on, imagine when our kids who are still developing or who are challenged with, these social functioning skills, executive functioning skills. It's a lot to think about. And so I just really want to encourage parents and caregivers and siblings to read these blogs and to really use caution around it.
Yeah,
So that's my PSA.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah, great resources to have on our site long
Yeah.
term now. All right. And our Ask Nurse Lynn for the week was submitted on behalf of a male who's 34 years old with a UPD subtype. And the question submitted was, our son has never taken growth hormone. One day, his endocrinologist noticed that he had high hemoglobin levels, the highest being 18. Because of this, the doctor referred him to a hematology specialist. The doctors checked his lungs, kidneys, and liver, and everything was fine. Seeing that everything was okay, they are now checking if he has any bone marrow disease. The doctors are planning to perform a lumbar puncture and take a biopsy, but there was also the option of drawing blood and using a reagent to test for bone marrow abnormalities. We are wondering if high hemoglobin is common in PWS. Unfortunately, the doctors here are not familiar with this condition and what recommendations that you have. And Nurse Lynn responded with a great answer, and you can read that in the link in our show notes. And while you're there, you can also submit your own non emergency medical question about Prader-Willi syndrome.
All right, we're going to move on to research. So the first one is from Harmony Biosciences about the Tempo PWS study. And this week, Harmony Biosciences announced a major corporate update highlighting continued growth of their WAKIX, which is pitolisant, franchise. And importantly for our community, they confirmed that the Tempo phase 3 clinical trial of pitolisant in PWS remains on track, with top-line data expected in the second half of 2026. Pitolisant is already FDA approved for narcolepsy, and the Tempo study represents an important step in exploring its potential to address excessive daytime sleepiness and related symptoms in individuals with PWS. While this is not an approval announcement, it is a meaningful sign of continued progress and investment in PWS-focused research. PWSA USA will continue to share updates with the community as they become more available. You can read Harmony's full press release announcement by using the link in our show notes. Another event coming up on Thursday, January 29th, we have a VYKAT XR webinar from Soleno Therapeutics, and that will be at 4:30 to 6 p.m. Pacific and 7:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern. In 2026, Soleno Therapeutics, the makers of VYKAT XR, will be hosting a series of caregiver webinars. Each webinar will have a mini theme related to important moments in the PWS community. On January 29th, the webinar will review the signs and symptoms of hyperphagia in Prader-Willi syndrome, what VYKAT XR may offer as a treatment option for patients 4 years and older, and how to get started. So there will be a number of very educated, experienced speakers for this webinar, and we encourage you to check the link in our show notes to register for this. Again, that's Thursday, January 29th, starting at 4:30 Pacific and 7:30 Eastern. We have another webinar coming up, and this is from Trend. And remember, Trend is PWS Connect on the Discord channel. And if you're not on that, I'll throw a link in the show notes to learn more about that, because it's a really cool space for parents to discuss PWS and also help with PWS research. So this webinar is on sleep disorders, and this will be Thursday, January 29th as well. But this one is 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern, so lunchtime for all of you people on the East Coast, and for those of us out here, we're just getting started with our day. So good way to start the day. This webinar. So sleep challenges are a real and often misunderstood part of life with Prader-Willi syndrome. And we're asking you to join Trend Community for Shedding Light on Sleep Disorders in Prader-Willi Syndrome. This webinar centered on caregiver experiences and clinical insights with a focus on listening, learning, and understanding the real-world impact of sleep issues in PWS. This is not a traditional lecture. It is an honest conversation about what families see, feel, and wish they had known sooner, paired with guidance from clinicians who help translate lived experience into care. And they do ask you to RSVP for this event. I will be doing that. Looking forward to this one. So there will be a link to do that in the show notes.
And then to finish off here, we have one PWSA announcement to share. PWSA USA is built on the dedication of families, caregivers, and supporters who believe in advancing care, advocacy, and resources for individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome. In addition to lived experience, the organization relies on professional expertise to remain strong, sustainable, and forward-thinking. So we have an opportunity not only for parents and caregivers, but also for extended family members, friends, and professional allies who want to support the mission in a meaningful way. If you have ever wondered how your skills could make a difference beyond a donation, this is a powerful way that you can contribute. PWSA is welcoming individuals who are willing to share their expertise in the following areas. We have communications and media with me and Annie, financial expertise, fund development, human resources, legal expertise, philanthropy, and website and digital expertise, also with me and Annie.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
Nate.
with Carrie. Carrie and Nate.
And Nate, sure. Volunteering your professional skills helps strengthen the organization's infrastructure and allows PWSA USA to better serve families nationwide. Contributions of time and talent, whether ongoing or project based, play a vital role in advancing this important work. If you or someone you know has experience in any of the areas that I mentioned and is interested in learning more, you can contact our CEO, Stacy Ward, and we'll have the email address in our show notes, but it's info@pwsausa.org. And then type in, I have a skill in the subject line so she knows what she's looking at. And we appreciate some help there. But yeah, we're always looking for volunteers and those interested in getting a little more involved in the organization. We have a lot of amazing work groups and committees, associated with PWSA. And I think I can speak for both me and Annie that our communications work group is invaluable. They
Oh, yeah.
are fantastic, fantastic people who really, really help us on a
Yeah.
month to month basis. So we cannot, overstress how important our volunteers are to us. So if you're interested in, getting involved in any way that is meaningful to you, please again email Stacy and let us know, and we'll help you get involved. Well, Annie, I'm so excited to see you this week in person. What
I'm so excited. Yes, I'm
almost
very,
never
very
gets to
excited.
happen. It's so sad.
I know.
But we're
I
going to be overjoyed this week to literally see each other 24/7 because we're roommates.
Yep. We're roomies.
But to get together with all the other staff and just reflect on an amazing year, get so excited and ready and prepared for this
Uh-huh.
year and beyond. We're going to be talking
Yeah.
a lot about the 2027 convention, for
I'm so
example.
excited to bring up the idea for the
Yeah.
conference that I mentioned the other day. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Me too.
I'll be
Me
sad if
too.
nobody else is excited. It's just us.
I will be excited with you
Okay.
100%. I think they will be. But yeah, when we know more and we flesh some things out and we're more prepared to share with the community what we have all talked about, we will definitely do that. We'll be sharing more of what comes from the staff retreat. But I know for a fact that we're going to have a lot of great social media reels
Yes.
that will come from it that you'll see sooner than later. So
Yeah.
get prepared. We hope you have a good sense of humor like us because we try to make them fun.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and as long as I can avoid the plague before then, and just keep my mask on.
Keep your mask on, Annie, in your house. Poor thing.
So very excited to see you in a couple days, and very excited to share with our podcast listeners the voices on VYKAT testimonial number 1.
And now our PWS United segment, Voices on VYKAT. While PWSA USA does not endorse any specific treatment, we recognize the importance of sharing information about options available to the PWS community. Decisions about medical care should always be made in consultation with a qualified healthcare provider. Please visit www.vykatxr.com for information on use and potential side effects.
Well, thanks, Brian, for being with us. Welcome. You want to share a little bit with the community about who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Brian Kolosik. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. My wife is Samantha or Sam, and we have 4 kids. So we have a 14-year-old boy, an 11-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy, Paxton, who has Prader-Willi syndrome, and then we have a 7-year-old girl.
Oh, your poor daughter.
I know. She's always has somebody to play with, although sometimes there's more fighting than playing. But
I'm sure she has a lot of protectors also with 3
she
big
does.
brothers.
She does. Yeah.
That's great, actually. Well, thanks for being here. Today, we're going to talk about VYKAT XR. So, can you walk us through your experience in getting VYKAT prescribed for Paxton?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually pretty simple. I compare it. The other comparison I've had is growth hormone, right? That one seems to be like a struggle about once a year. For VICAT, it was really easy. So, my wife and I decided after just a lot of contemplation that like, hey, we want to give this a shot for Paxton. So we reached out to his doctor. She wrote the script, and I think relatively being a couple days after that, we heard from Panther for the first time and collected some general information, insurance information, stuff like that, and from there that really kicked off the process. But it was a really easy process once we made the decision to move forward with it.
That's amazing. Did you guys have any issues with insurance approval or getting a prior authorization?
Yeah, insurance denied it the first time, and you get that, and you're like, oh no, like we had our minds made up, we wanted to try this. Insurance denied it. You're like, oh, what do we have to do now? And so I called Panther again, the Selena One team, and was just asked them what I need to do. And they're like, you don't need to do anything. Like we'll handle it. And then I think 3 days after that, like they got the approval from we have Aetna as our primary insurance and got the approval from Aetna and then scheduled the time to ship. And we had it a couple days after that. So I think all in all, it was maybe like a 2 to 3 week process from start to finish, but minimal effort on my part. So I really appreciate that after, again, having to do the battle of growth hormone usually once a year with pre-ops and all that kind of stuff and having to fight that battle on my own. I appreciated them kind of hand holding along the way, and I really didn't have to do much.
Yeah, shout out to Panther.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah, and their hold music is very good too. If you've been on hold with them,
I
yeah,
have, and it's funny you say that because almost everybody I talk to says the same thing. Like,
yeah,
their customer service is amazing.
they do a really good job. Yeah,
The hold music makes sure that you're not irritated when they come back on the phone. Like,
yeah, that's right.
it's
I forget what song it is now, because usually not on hold very long, but it's great. Like the whole experience has been really easy. I think is probably the best way to describe it.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How's the titration worked for VICAT for you guys? And I'm
Yeah, so we
sure double
started
titration.
Paxton. I think the full dose for Pax when we first started was 150. He was right at the cusp of having to move up to the next higher dose, which I think is like 225. So we started at the 150. I think we titrated. I think our initial dose was 75 milligrams. So we started that, and gosh, this was back in June now, so I don't exactly remember the walk, but it was really simple. I mean, they sent us what we needed. We gave it to them once a day. They had the little handy calendar where you put a sticker on. I think that lasted like the first, I don't know how many weeks until we got up to the full dose, but eventually we titrated up to the full dose, which was 150. And then actually, he saw his endocrinologist back in December, so about a month ago, and he's eligible to move up to the next higher kind of threshold dose level of 225. So we decided to just slow walk that up. So we're at 175 now. I think we'll hold there, but it's gone really well. He really hasn't had any material side effects or anything from it.
That's awesome. That was gonna be my next question, actually, was if you guys experienced any side effects.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff we've seen, he had a period early on, probably, within the first 4 to 6 weeks where he was just extra irritable, it seemed like. We were kind of just finishing up school, so it could have just been that schedule change. He loves school so much. So I feel like when the routine of school goes away, like sometimes that's kind of hard. But he just seemed extra kind of growly for like, I don't know, a few weeks. And we're like, we don't know if this is school being done. We don't know if it's VICAT or if it's something else. We didn't know. But it kind of just resolved itself over time, and he got back to his typical again. We noticed like some increased hair growth is another one. I mean, in my mind, that for him anyway, that was very minimal. It's really like kind of on the back of his neck, down his
Oh,
spine. So like not a big deal. Like, maybe we shave his neck one extra time between haircuts or something like that. But again, nothing that meaningful. Nothing like on the edema side at all. We follow his blood sugar. So, we checked glucose levels before he started the drug. So we got kind of a fasting baseline. And so we just check blood sugars now every Saturday morning before he has breakfast. We saw some spikes kind of right after we started the drug. We saw a little bit of a spike when we titrated up to the higher dose here over the past month, but that's now come back down to kind of what his baseline is again. So nothing really major there. It's just something obviously we wanted to keep our eye on.
yeah. I've heard that from other people too, that there's a spike and then it kind of levels out again.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know how that works. The body just adjusts or something like that, but
yeah.
it hasn't been an issue for him. So he's tolerated the drug really well.
It is good to hear that it levels out though, because I think that initial spike can be concerning for people.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, our kids are like predisposed to diabetes thing
Right.
anyway. And so, anytime you mess with the blood sugar piece, like that can be a little bit concerning. But at least again for Paxton, it was very manageable and just something we wanted to keep an eye on and just track. But he's done really well with it.
Yeah. Have you guys seen improvements?
Yeah, I would say we've seen improvement kind of across the board. So, I mean, in a couple different areas, certainly like that really rigid thinking that our kids typically have. The example that I've like shared with family is so last school year, probably 3 out of the 5 school days of the week, it was a screaming match to get Paxton in the car. Not because he didn't want to go to school, he loved school, but because he was doing something else. He was playing a game, and we could not leave until that game was finished. And if you have a kid, probably you understand how that goes. So either I had to physically pick him up and carry him to the car and put him in there, which is not a great way to start the day because he's screaming and doesn't want to go into the building then when he gets there because he's crying, or we just waited and we were late to school. And we have not, since starting VYKAT, so we started the very end of June. We have not been late or had that sort of struggle every single morning now. Like every morning has been like, we give him a heads up. Hey, we're leaving in 10 minutes, we're leaving in 5 minutes. So he knows it's coming, but he's able to kind of just manage it better and like leave what he's doing and just know that it'll be there at the end of this, when he gets home from school, it'll still be sitting there, whatever it was, the game or the Xbox game or the video he was watching or whatever it is. And he's fine leaving it and getting in the car and going to school on time. So like, that's like, when I think about the benefit of drug, it's like, it's a bunch of little things that have just improved quality of life for Paxton and then also just broadly for my wife and I, and then our other kids, because we're just not having the level of meltdowns that we had before. So I think that's one. I think another thing is just emotional regulation. Paxton still certainly has meltdowns. I would say they're fewer, they're harder to trigger, and when they do occur, they last for a shorter duration. So before, where maybe it was like a 45-minute to an hour type meltdown where we just, you have to leave him alone. He doesn't want anybody to look at him, all those types of things. It's turned into like he'll put his head down for 10 minutes and he'll be mad, and then he just moves on, and we never bring it up again because there's no value in that, and we just go on about our day. So like again, it's a really small thing. If you didn't have a kid with Prader-Willi, you probably wouldn't understand it. But for us, like it's been really meaningful and benefits all of us.
Yeah. And knowing what so many families with children with PWS face, like that feels like a huge impact to me.
It's a huge, like if we can have 1 or 2 meltdowns a week as opposed to like 15, which is probably what we were averaging, probably more on the weekends when we're just all at home, like that's really meaningful. And I think,
Yeah.
and then maybe like speaking about the food piece too. So I've thought about this a lot. I think of like his improvement there in terms of like turning down the dial. So let's say like Paxton was at like a 7. I'm just making up kind of like a 1 to 10 scale, right? But let's say
Yeah.
Paxton was at like a 7 for hyperphagia. I feel like it's turned down to like a 3 now, where like again,
Wow.
it's still there. It can still certainly like rear its head, but it's much more manageable for him and us than it was a year ago at this time before we were on VYKAT. And like the example there, just recently, it was a Sunday morning. We all get up early every day, but Sunday morning, sometimes we're like, this is a sleep in Sunday. Everybody stay in your room, watch a cartoon, whatever it is. And so we did that. We told Paxton the night before. We told all the kids the night before. And it was like, we all get up, get moving, whatever. It's 10 a.m. Paxton's still playing somewhere in the house. The other kids are doing something. He hasn't asked for breakfast once. Now, when he sees us and we bring it up, like, hey, do you want some food? Like, oh, yeah, sure. But it wasn't the biggest thing on his mind. It was more important the game he was playing with his brother or the cartoon he was watching or whatever it was. So like, again, it's still there, but the dial has been turned down.
Is he able to articulate that he feels different at all?
Yeah, we've asked him about that, and he's only 9, and obviously his speech isn't fantastic either, but he's made comments to the effect that he feels like it's the noise as much noise isn't there, like, it's not all he thinks about.
So cool.
Yeah, so I feel like it's been just a positive experience for us so far. I mean, who knows? We're 6.5 months in or so at that point, like, we could continue to see improvement. At this point, I would continue with the drug just based off the quality of life improvements we've seen
Mhm.
across the board.
When did you start to see those improvements?
I
Like, how far along?
It's hard to s it's like you notice something, like something that you expect him to get mad at, and he doesn't get mad, and you're like, "Is that VYKAT or is that just he just didn't get mad? Would he have
Mhm.
not gotten mad?" Like, so it's hard to, like, pinpoint a date. I
Yeah.
would say for us, it felt like a really slow drip.
Yeah.
So maybe starting to see some level of improvement around 3 months, and a very slow but steady improvement over the course of the past, 6.5, almost 7 months. That's how I'd best describe it. Like, yeah, I certainly couldn't pinpoint a day where just like, "Oh, a switch went off," because the stuff's still there. The
Right.
emotional s the rigid, the hyper like, it's still there. It's just, like, the dial has been turned down on the intensity of it.
It's a great description.
Yeah. I don't know how else to make it make sense. When I, like,
Yeah,
describe it
no,
to my mother, that's how I describe it, is, like, it's not a cure, like, we never expected a cure, but for us, it was just all about, like, improving quality of life, and so that's how we thought about it and sort of, like, use that scale as we think about improvement.
well, and I appreciate you acknowledging the improvement of quality of life, not just for Paxton, but for the whole family
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
a result. I mean, that alone is powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a year ago at this time, we were always sort of walking on eggshells with Paxton, and, like, again, that's not to say that doesn't ever occur, but
Right.
it doesn't feel like it's as intense as it was a year ago at
Mhm.
this time before VYKAT.
Yeah. So, based on your experience, what would you want clinicians and maybe clinicians who aren't well versed in PWS and other families to know about VICAT?
Yeah, I think, like, for us, a couple things there. I think for us is my wife and I were evaluating the idea of, like, should we try this drug, right? There's that, like, very simply, like, a risk reward kind of analysis that you do in your head. I mean, it's not like a formal spreadsheet or anything like that. I think it's really important to understand the risks associated with the drug. And if you decide to move forward with it, like, how do you mitigate those or, like, understand those and track those, right? So that's really important. That's one side of it. And the other side of it is the reward. And I think you have to be realistic about expectations. Like, we can't expect, like, Paxton, it has Prader-Willi and he's 9. He's not gonna be like my other 3 kids, kind of that typical whatever, like, when they were 9, right?
Right.
So we thought of it in terms more of like, do we believe that there's enough benefit there that it will improve his quality of life and thus our quality of life? And so we weighed those 2 things, ultimately, deciding to move forward with VYKAT, and I believe it was the right decision. I think the other thing that's just really interesting, I've thought about this a lot, is just, like, around hyperphagia. When I first learned about Prader-Willi, in my mind, hyperphagia was always just, like, a relentless drive to eat all the time, and that's what it was. And I think it's a lot more complex than that, and I think I fully don't even understand it. I don't know if necessarily anybody does, but there's just so much more that's baked into hyperphagia around, like, anxiety
Yes.
and behaviors and all of those things. And so I think, like, for a clinician maybe who doesn't totally understand hyperphagia, and it's not their fault, right? Like, it's a weird concept, and,
Right.
like, would you understand this unless you've seen it? I think if they could understand, or just people in general understand, that it's more than just food seeking. It's a really complex behavior. Certainly food is like a driver a lot of the times, but there's so much more to it than just going after food. And I think that's something that, like, I've started to understand more as we've been taking VICAT, that, like, just kind of across the board, there's just been a mellowing of behavior.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. That would maybe my advice to people, considering the drug, is just think about what hyperphagia is broadly, how it impacts your family, and how potentially VICAT could help alleviate some of that.
It's great advice. I've had people say to me that they didn't think their child was in hyperphagia because they weren't taking food from other people's plate.
Yeah.
So that understanding it much more broadly, I think, is a piece that even us in the community need to know.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I mean, and there's just like the questions around food, right? Like
yeah,
all the thousand, like, what are we having? When are we having it? Who's eating with us? Like, did you think, we're going out to eat? Are they going to have something that I can have? And like, again, those questions still occur, but it's like the frequency of them occurring is diminished. So like there again, I feel like the dial has been turned down. Like, but that's not just going after food. That's not just stealing food. That's like
right.
another behavior related to food that has certainly, Paxton certainly improved with.
It's amazing. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing your family
absolutely.
story. I think it's really, really great for people to hear people's stories. And I love hearing that. I think there's some expectations that it's going to present as like a cure. So to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hear that it's more of that dial and things are turned down, I think it's really
Yeah.
encouraging for people
Yeah.
who might be thinking it's going to be a light switch and it's not,
Yeah.
and that
Yep.
there's other ways to measure progress. So
Yeah,
thanks for sharing that.
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's a super complex disorder, as we all know. And so, the cure or like the light switch coming on and the product really just being gone, like that wasn't our understanding of what VYKAT was. So that wasn't our expectation from the start. Like it was all about like, can we improve quality of life? If we can, I'm just making up a number, but if we can improve his life and thus our life 30%, again, that's a meaningful improvement for him and for us.
Yes.
The other
Yes.
thing I'll mention is this is really interesting. And we see Dr. Miller. So I talked to
Yep.
Dr. Miller about this last week. In our school district, they do like what's called like a district common assessment. So basically standardized testing that they do like a couple times a year to measure like growth and improvement. Paxton has always scored less than the 10th percentile in both reading and math. And he jumped just this last semester from like the 9th percentile in reading to like the 28th percentile and then like the 12th percentile to like the 34th percentile, which is
Really?
were remarkable. And like I didn't know what to attribute that to. At first I thought maybe is this like an error, but it's not. So I talked to Dr. Miller and she's like, actually we saw some improvement like that in the study. They didn't track it necessarily, but I thought that was really interesting too. So I don't know what to attribute that to. It's not like you take VYKAT and you get smarter, but
No, but I
maybe
wonder if it's like,
focus is there.
yeah, when Paxton said that the noise is a little less,
Yeah.
I wonder if it has something to do with that being a little bit less and being able to then focus and
Yeah, like there's
attend
only
differently.
so much like brain capacity, and it's like
Yeah.
your brain capacity is thinking about food all the time, but now like only 40% of your brain capacity is about food. Well, maybe you have some more room in there to learn things and progress, at rate. So I don't know. I thought it was just really interesting. We just saw that test result last week, so we obviously will keep tracking it and see. But I thought that was super interesting and not expected at all. So
No, not at all. That's very cool. I know
yeah,
Global Registry put out a survey now that is for tracking VICAT and
I
all
just saw that. Yeah,
yeah, I wonder if this is something that's being tracked in that.
if
'Cause
not, it should be. Yeah, I just thought I was just really interested in that more than anything else.
yeah, that's really fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
All the ways that I think we're gonna see benefits that
Oh, I
we
think
didn't
so
think about.
too. I think the other thing is like patience. I mean, I think that's hard too. Patience and then just acknowledging the small wins instead of like, I don't think you can wait for like the big giant win because I don't know if that's coming. I don't know if that's coming ever.
Yeah.
But like, gosh, just for us, I think it's helpful to look back, like, look where we were 6 months ago or 12 months ago and where we are today. There's definitely improvement there. I think that's I don't know, a better way to measure progress on the road.
Thank you for listening to this episode of PWS United. If you want to learn more about Prader-Willi syndrome and how PWSA USA is making strides in advocacy, family support, and research, visit www.pwsausa.org. And while you're there, we encourage you to sign up for our Pulse email newsletter to stay informed about the latest news, resources, and events. Don't forget to subscribe to the PWS United podcast so you never miss an episode. Our team is always available to support families and their loved ones living with PWS 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can call us at 941-312-0400 or email info@pwsausa.org. Catch a new episode next Tuesday, and until then, have a great week.